Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, this bill deals with a fundamental issue of national security and intelligence. And we heard from the Shadow Attorney-General a speech where he made a series of allegations against the Minister for Home Affairs, the government, the 20,000 bureaucrats and the agencies, and made an allegation about the cheapness and the partisanship that sits behind this piece of legislation, and then proceeded to move an amendment that was cheap, that was partisan, that served no purpose than to extend the length of his voice echoing in this chamber for his own enjoyment. It is a sad and tragic effort by the Shadow Attorney-General, and it is beneath him to have got up and given such an address. This piece of legislation is substantive, it matters, it goes to the heart of our national security. Now, let's not misunderstand, Deputy Speaker. I share some of the reservations or concerns about the national security framework that we have in place. The right of citizens to be able to live their lives freely and to make sure that there's proper accountability in both the exercise of executive and judicial power is something that we should always scrutinise in this parliament. I have always been cautious about many of the parts of our national security legislation in place and the empowerment it gives to our agencies. And that won't change, because in the end we face constant tests and challenges in this place around balancing liberties and protecting national security. And I hear from some members over on the other side of this chamber that even though I raise a scepticism, that I still vote for some legislation. That is resolutely true, I do, and so do you. Because we all know that we are custodians in this place of preserving and conserving the nation and its security. And to belittle and demean it to the sound bites of the Shadow Attorney-General doesn't just cheapen him, though it does, it cheapens the custodianship that we hold on behalf of the people of this great nation. Now, the purpose of this legislation is actually relatively straightforward. Legislation has been reviewed, recommendations have been made by a committee, those recommendations have been accepted by the government, and we are reviewing the legislation for amendment. But to do so, we are taking prudent and responsible steps. Prudent and responsible steps where ASIO and IGIS, the Inspector General of Intelligence Security, is socialising and engaging with stakeholders and partners to make sure we get it right. And one of the points of the Shadow Attorney-General, amongst others, is we've got to get this stuff right, and he's right on that. We do. But his solution is to fast-forward the process, to speed it up, to come out with resolution before we have clarity, and in the process to compromise the integrity of the legislation that this nation so desperately needs, and then to belittle it and cheapen it with an amendment which seems large objective is driven by the need for his personal frustration that he sits on that side of the chamber and not this one. That's it. 9 months and personal vendettas. And so you can understand why so many people on this side of the chamber treat his long and verbose speeches about his own self-indulgence with such contempt. This legislation has one purpose, which is to make sure that our agencies have the power they need, and so as soon as we are in a position to be able to replace it with improved legislation that reflects the concerns of our agencies, of the parliament and its committees, that we can do so without compromising national security. I would have thought that's a pretty basic expectation of legislation in this place. I would have thought that we could come to some sort of common agreement that that is in the best interests of our country. I would have thought that for an opposition, that would have been the least they would expect of a government. Not to blindly support, not to blindly support at all, but to recognise there is a power in place and that until the legislation has been developed to prudently amend it, that it would support the legislation in its place instead of what it has done. But, Deputy Speaker, let's be clear. In the speech of the Shadow Attorney-General, and I'm quite sure of those who follow him, they have revealed their cards, and that is their choice. And the people of Australia will assess it and judge it prudently, and I've no doubt dismiss it, because when it comes down to the importance of making sure this nation is safe, they always seem to gravitate their eyes to the side of the coalition rather than the cheap stunts of our Labor opponents. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.